Very good evening to all of you. Guidance and Counseling Unit welcomes you all to today's lecture by Professor L.S.Ganesh titled Learning to Push Your Limits. Had it not been a function where the audience is mainly freshers, there would have been no need to introduce Professor L.S.Ganesh. But still, very briefly, Professor LSG is an alumnus from our institute and he is presently the head of the Department of Management Studies Department. He'll be talking to us on this topic, learning to push your limits. A very hearty welcome to you, sir.
Anyway, let me thank the Guidance and Counseling Unit, David, an old friend. We were all contemporaries. I see a few familiar faces here, and that sort of gives me a feeling of dread, in the sense that, what do you think you guys are going to learn anew if you've already been listening to me for so long? Hopefully I'll send this, whatever I'm going to share, to those of you who might not have had the opportunity to share with me some ideas that we will discuss today. In a sense, I think you fellows are masochists, Okay. What do you mean by pushing the limits, and why should we talk about pushing the limits? This notion actually came to me when I visited Mussoorie in 1999, I was right. There's a Defense Research and Development Organization lab in Mussoorie, near Dehradun. Those of you from the north know that Mussoorie is one of the beautiful hill stations. Okay? Except that this place, the lab is located in a place called Landauer Cantonment. It's a cantonment area, which is higher than Mussoorie. And you get a beautiful view of the Himalayas from there. And in fact, that's the place where Ruskin Bond lives. Okay? Those of you who have read Ruskin Bond books would immediately know. One of the fine authors who writes for children. And in fact, I had the opportunity to meet Ruskin Bond there. It's a small house, beautiful location overlooking the valley, and I had a very nice time there. But more than nice time, I'd been there with my family. When I went over the lab, I just chanced across a notice board, in which there were obviously some cobwebs, and apparently that was a notice board that was not much in use. And there was this silver ant eaten a small piece of paper there. By sheer fate, I think I said, okay, let me read what's in it. And I think that moment was a moment of truth for me. I could have missed it. I'm just trying to bring this point for you to recognize the importance of destiny and fate. Sometimes you take a decision which can alter the entire track of your life. It can put you on a track which takes you far away from what you perhaps would have been otherwise. Perhaps even what you would have wished to be otherwise. Okay. What was this piece of paper which was a little eaten up with silver ants? It was a quote of Article 51A of the Constitution of India. This is something I've shared with some of my friends who are here. I think they can quickly understand what I'm going to talk about. Article 51A of the Constitution of India deals with fundamental duties of citizens of India. Okay. I hope we all recognize ourselves as citizens of India. Okay. As one of my friends said, good or bad, it's a genetic accident, you are here. Okay. Once you are here, at least let's see what best you can do. This article, I have brought it with me. I'm just going to read an extract. This is proof enough for you that even teachers need bit notes. I've generally believed more in open notes open anything examination than close notes. Okay? Because in real life, you will have access to a lot of reference materials. The challenge in real life is how do you marshal those resources and use them in a situation that demands application of your knowledge, your own creative thinking, and so on. I think that's a better way to test students. In fact, give questions where you will even have to identify what material to marshal. Which is what happens in real life, trust me. That's the damn challenge for most of us in real life. Nobody's going to tell you that this is the material you have to collect. Nobody's going to give you notes in real life. You'll have to even identify. So we'll come to this later. What does this say? Constitution of India, Article 51A, fundamental duties. A, to abide by the Constitution. Constitution, respect its ideals and national flag and the national anthem. B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. I read all of them. J was the moment of truth. To strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity so that the nation constantly rises to higher levels of endeavor and achievement. I said, Ganesh, read that again. To strive towards excellence. It doesn't say to be excellent. Watch out. Huh? These people, great people who wrote the Constitution, I think if you read between the lines, you can see the tender care they took for this document. It's something you can feel. There was tremendous love when they wrote this whole thing. Love for what they were doing. Okay. To strive towards excellence, which means they are clearly talking of a struggle. Okay. A legitimate, noble struggle. Okay. To strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity. Why? So that the nation constantly rises to higher levels of endeavor and achievement. That put a switch on in my head. I said, what a dumb guy I was. I'm a citizen of India, and first thing is I don't even know my fundamental rights. Okay, leave alone fundamental duties. But here was this thing, it said fundamental duties. And I've been taught from my childhood about the concept of duty. There is a beautiful word which I shared today in a morning lecture with some of my MBA students, the concept of dharma. Dharma as duty. Dharma has several connotations. Some of you know this connotation, isn't it? Dharma as, giving alms. Simplest dharmam podunga. In Tamil they say, isn't it? Dharma as virtue, righteousness, etc. And dharma as duty. Are you performing your dharma? The Gita is full of that, isn't it? What is your dharma as a Kshatriya? Is the challenge that is posed to the archer. So, the concept of dharma. It's a fundamental duty. You can ask a basic question. All right, it's the Constitution of India. In any case, nobody knows about it, or very few people know about it. And those who wrote it are dead and gone. So why should it matter to me? One can take that line. It's all right. In fact, one of the things I firmly believe in, which perhaps during our discussions will come later, is I am a firm believer that there is nothing that is absolutely right and absolutely wrong. I've had several philosophical wars with very close friends, and many times they've been undecided because those friends are also really brilliant people. I hold my view, my perspective is there is nothing that is absolutely right, absolutely wrong. It depends on which switch you are willing to put in your head. You have many switches, there are many connections, and the job of teachers is to show you saying, this is the switch, put it on. That's the line I take. Okay? So this switch went on in me. What shocked me in a very nice way was what came below that paper, another sheet. what does the Constitution of India mean by excellence? What does it mean by excellence? And there was an annotation, okay, and this was fantastic. The annotation stated, the citizens of this great nation shall perform their duties in an excellent way, rather than perform them half-heartedly. Now, this is trivial, obvious. Okay, you may say, kya hai? So, citizens of this great nation shall perform their duties in an excellent way, rather than perform them half-heartedly. So far, so good. Next sentence, fantastic. Excellence means surpassing merit, virtue, and honest performance. That took me by the scruff. It says it's not enough if you are virtuous, it's not enough if you are meritorious, it's not enough if you put an honest performance. It says you have to surpass virtue, merit, and honest performance. Brilliant. Now that is where I come from when I talk of pushing the limits. So naturally, they also said very beautifully, the third sentence, duties cannot be enforced by writs. We all know that. Nobody can enforce a duty by writ except when you're a slave, which is at the cost of your life, or severe pain if you don't perform your duty. Remember, we are a free country. So, if there is a person who is working somewhere and he or she wants salary for signing the attendance, which is the joke that has gone around this country for too long, you can't enforce the chair or the person to perform his or her duty. You can't enforce. It's an expectation. We all know this joke. I'm sure many of you would have shared this joke, that people want salary for signing their attendance. And any other work is overtime. Well, you're talking of individual habits, collective cultures. We'll come to this. Yet, duties are obligatory on citizens. It's an obligation for you to perform your duty. You belong to this land, good or bad. You've been nurtured in this land by people who belong to this land. Somewhere down the line, the smell of the soil and the smell of the air and the sweetness of the water should have sunk into your soul. Somewhere it should have gone into the deep recesses of your consciousness. And I'm appealing to that experience that you would have gone through living here so far. And I'm sure you have that little warmth in one corner of your heart for this land and its people, including your own families, I'm saying. So what constitutes? It set me on a path of questioning. Started questioning. So what do these guys actually mean by surpassing? It led me to two notions. Excellence means that demonstrated character of an individual or a group by which, first, they know their limits, and second, they push their limits. So to push a limit, you have to know it first. What is your limit? That's where I come from. Just a couple of weeks ago, I think I had a small chat with first year students in Mandakini Hostel. Anybody here? Okay. Thanks. So, yeah, Mangal, please. No, please. You didn't hear Mangal. He said, I have a class. I know, that comes later for many of us. Yeah, thanks, Mangal. So know your limits and push your limits. For those of you who are fresh in IIT, this is not uncommon, having classes in the night. And if you, by fate, if you take my class, you might be in a seminar at 1:30 in the night. Okay. Anyway, excellence, know your limits, push your limits. Now you are into a very interesting dilemma. I'm going to include the term, I'm going to include myself in this discussion. We have several limits. If you just look around, if you just think by yourself, you have so many limits. I'll talk of one limit which I'm living with deep guilt. Some of you know that I play rock, blues and jazz. It's my passion. I like playing music. I freak out, okay? Just like it. But one guilt that I have is, the damn thing is I never learnt music formally. I know it's a limit. What's the limit? I can't compose music. What's the point of understanding, realizing that you can't compose music when you're on the wrong side of life? It's too tight for me. Maybe this great spirit will send me again and make me a good composer. I wish I could compose music today. I hope you understand. A good composer will have to compose for several instruments. Orchestration. It's not a joke. It's not just a simple tune. Okay. Just a simple tune. You have to orchestrate the damn thing. And that's where the beauty. Why is it that when you listen to certain pieces of music, you are moved? I'm sure all of you have gone through some experiences where you are moved by the music. All of us have gone through that. So obviously that composer has done something grand in the composition. And the composer probably knows that when I told him, take up in the world of industrial automation and robotics, perceptibility. He's a very good friend. I said, boss,